Pleadings filed in the bankruptcy New Orleans auction galleries that the sale that we had informed of earlier, that the auction is not occurring of the stock of the business, and that is going to remain in its current ownership status.
Well,
I'm not asking for a vote. I'm just advising. This just has happened over the past 2 weeks to 4 weeks. I believe that we've had renewals come in from both Ms. Vito's and from New Orleans auction business. Is that right?
No, not complete. So
they have not put in bonds.
Right.
Okay. So we're waiting for that. I didn't want to make the board aware of this. I reported earlier there was an auction schedule.
How do we go ahead? I thought Greg had his hand.
No.
I mean, 'cause I thought he was the liaison as to what's going on with the auction.
I haven't heard any lately, just that they were waiting on the pending of the sale of the stock 3 months ago.
Yeah, and that was November 7th. I believe.
Right, she called me and told me that it was still pending then.
Any other actions that have transpired with New Orleans Auction Gallery that the board should be apprised of? Because I thought at one time it was going to be over with fairly quickly.
Yeah,
And
apparently
it seems to be
things.
very lengthy. And
Actually, according to the pleadings file, it's doing so well, there was no urgent need that the creditors and designers are being paid at this time. So we're waiting to see exactly what happens. So, but I also want to let the board know that we have not had renewals come in from either one as of this point. So we're waiting to see exactly what happens.
You have a question, Mr. Burns?
Do you not feel there's some other relevant things going on with New Orleans auction galleries in those filings that would be relevant for this board to be aware of?
Not at this time, no.
You don't?
No.
Then can I
No.
condense?
I don't want to give too much information because
Public filing.
You hear it.
It's public filing.
It's up to the
it's
The
like-
vice chair.
I need to recuse myself on this, right?
Yes.
If we're gonna do this. I'm recused on New Orleans auction, any New Orleans auction stuff.
They're getting a lot of exercise. We dropped it.
All right. And I'll be very brief. First of all, Erika Schaffenberg, the German investor, basically appears to have pulled out. Very good. And
That's what I just said. The
then-
auction was canceled.
well, it wasn't. Nobody knew that was the reason, and it's not official. He hadn't said he's pulled out, but and the $50,000 that he wanted to charge in consulting fees, the court declined. However, now that he has officially pulled out, it would raise the issue of whether or not he may in fact be entitled to those $50,000 in consulting fees. Also, the first $135,000 of his DIP financing is scheduled to be repaid in the next 30 to 60 days. As you mentioned, it was canceled. Susan Crone, the Houston antiques dealer, sent an accountant in, was there for about an hour and a half. They threw her out. Susan Crone then objected vehemently to the cancellation. Stated in the pleadings that New Orleans Auction Gallery has now initiated adversarial proceedings against Ms. Crone, and where they originally said they owed her $2 million, they're now saying, we don't know that we owe you anything, and furthermore, we're going to seek $155,000 from you because of purported preferential payments that were made to her in the year leading up to the auction. Like I said, they filed adversarial proceedings against Ms. Crone. Most recently, Ms. Crone's attorney issued a subpoena to get the personal bank records of Gene Vito's. Susan Crone has allegedly been running around telling people, clients, at least according to the filings by New Orleans Auction Galleries, that I have already acquired New Orleans Auction Galleries, and Ms. Gene Vito's is about to be indicted by a grand jury. Now it's just,
Robert, let me
yeah.
say this.
Now just a minute.
Any documentation, any statements to this board may force us not to be able to hear the hearing.
Well,
so what you're saying right now may take this board completely out because none of that is substantiated. Most of that is not substantiated.
I've said everything's alleged.
The reason I don't tell the board everything, I give them an update because they have to hear this. If they all have to recuse themselves from this hearing, then this board's going to have to pay more money to have someone come in to actually hear it and make a decision. So that's why I didn't want to give all that information out to the board at this time.
Well, can I ask why the board has never even entertained the idea of me bringing Ms. Gene Vito's in to ask about any of this stuff, including the fact that there was over 50 unpaid consigners at the time of the bankruptcy, and had it not been for a Schaffenberg, It wouldn't have been paid. But, you know, I mean, nobody disputes now that the
Again-
money was not, well, why is she not being held, come in, to be brought in, to be asked about, okay, it's clear that this money was not escrowed.
Robert? Okay.
Has she been discharged?
No, well, no, the problem is that once we start the hearing, then I didn't want the, basically the auction to be directly affected by the hearing of Ms. Vito's. Once the auction was to occur, then the investigation would continue on her. That is not something the board hears. The board hears the hearing and the evidence which would come before this board. And I do not want this board to be tainted against her or for her, either way.
Nor do I. But,
Which is what we do.
well, no, this is public record that you could get.
Robert, it might be public record, and I respect what you're doing to inform everyone,
Thank you.
but, you know, we,
Those are allegations. that-
Oh, absolutely,
that may
absolutely.
not be may
Abs-
not
you
be
are-
presented at a board.
and another
hearing.
thing, another reason, you know, you got bankruptcy laws involved in this, it limits what anybody can do to bring anybody in for anything to, until it's all over.
Well, okay, and the,
As we discussed originally, I'm dealing with Mr. Bordelon on those issues, and that the whole board did not, and that's what we decided
Well,
originally.
that's why.
well, and I want to bring up one other point because it's relevant to 3 o'clock today, an hour and 10 minutes away. Did you check the Pacer system last night?
No.
Okay. As you know, Ms. Crone, and there's nothing about an allegation on this, it's just fact. Ms. Crone sought 2 other unsecured creditors to go in together and form a creditors committee. New Orleans Auction Galleries objected to it. Last night they filed and the judge denied that motion. So not just a minute. The motion to have the 3 creditors, you know where they're going with this, and I know where they're going with this. They sought to disband the committee. That request was denied. Lastly, in an hour and 10 minutes, the judge will be hearing on the protective order which New Orleans Auction Galleries filed, saying that we're not about to give Eugene Vitos's personal financial, her personal bank statements. That'll be decided in about an hour and 10 minutes.
I have one question. It's very simple. You know, concerning this, has, in this board's opinion, in your opinion, Ms. Dial, has Ms. Vito's done anything that violate any statutes of Louisiana Auction License Board?
I don't make that decision, you will, but I'm not going to present that to this board except in the form of a hearing.
No, I understand that, but
What I just told you, she has not renewed her license as of this day.
But I'm saying though, because of the prior situations and things like that, that you did tell us about the consigners and things like that, without an escrow account, that was brought up by you to the board. Would this not be warranted of a violation that the board needs to look at?
I think the board's going to eventually look at it, yes.
Okay, that's what I was asking.
But at this point, I think she's going to object because of all this information that's been brought in here as fact, but it may.
I never said anything was fact.
Well, that's why we don't talk about it before a hearing can be held.
What?
There are very strict rules on that.
Freddie, with due respect what you're trying to do, I know where you're headed, and I respect that. But you got a lot of stuff hanging out here, like Ms. Dow said. You get this board tainted, we can't hear nothing.
No, we don't want to do that.
And
My question.
then we need to hush. We
I
all need to
understand
be-
that, but I
we
just
all
asked
need to let
because
go.
it never,
It don't matter, Freddie.
it was never brought to the board. and
I understand,
was
there's a
asking.
reason why, because there's bankruptcy filings and everything else is involved in it, that you can violate federal law very quickly and easily, and we
Yeah,
don't
and
want to do
I
that.
respect that, but it was never told to the board why.
That's what it is.
Why she had
Anybody
not
else got
been
anything else on you?
There'll be a hearing.
Okay, that's the same, we never knew.
But
That's why I
you
was
were under the impression that Mr. Schaffenberg, because that's never been formally stated,
No,
but you,
and that's why I did say it.
what's that?
That's why I did say it. There's nothing.
Well, you nodded your head, yes, but, because
I
I,
understand that that's probably one of the reasons.
that they called it
But
off.
It's not officially.
Yes.
And there's no statement to that effect.
Right.
The only thing I'm telling the board is just keep them aware of what's going on. But yes, we're probably going to have a hearing eventually. But with regard to the facts or the alleged facts or allegations made by in one party or another, that's not relevant to our decision today.
Oh, you're correct.
Okay, is that-
Well, only thing I want to know, only other question I had is, you said she hasn't applied for a 2012 license. I'm assuming that if she did so, at this point, it would obviously just be granted, correct?
Not necessarily.
Oh, well, what would you, well, since there's not another board meeting before January, in theory, there would be a emergency or whatever you want to call it, meeting? Maybe.
Or we can put a hold on the license, pending the court deal, whatever, but I don't know. I can't answer.
Yeah.
Need a motion to approve the attorney's report? Hold on, please.
I just have a question.
Go ahead, Shirley.
The fact that Ms. Steinkamp has recused herself from this previous discussion about New Orleans Auction Galleries, I take that to mean that she is still employed with New Orleans Auction Galleries in some capacity, is that correct?
She is a paid employee, not a,
Right.
Not a
So,
owner,
so
not a
should she have
board.
even been privy to any of this conversation? That's my
like Robert
question.
said, it's public record.
Okay,
You know, that's where he got all his in the courthouse, so
Okay.
I ain't there for anybody to look at.
Yeah, the fact that the auction has been canceled and that it's continuing to operate on its own is public record, and there's no problem with it. When we get to a hearing, obviously, she'll have to accuse herself.
I'll second that motion.
You know, got a motion and a second to adopt the attorney's report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.